If you're renting a home or apartment in the United States, you may think you understand your basic rights. But many tenants are unaware of the full scope of legal protections available to them under federal, state, and local laws. In this video, we'll break down the lesser-known legal rights of tenants in the U.S., some of which might surprise you, and how you can use them to protect yourself. Let's start with something many renters overlook: the right to a habitable living space. While most people assume their landlord must keep the property in decent condition, this right is actually part of what's called the implied warranty of habitability. It means your landlord is legally required to maintain your unit in a condition that is safe, clean, and fit to live in. This includes working plumbing, heating during winter, a sound roof, no pest infestations, and functioning electrical systems. This right exists even if it's not written into your lease. Here's what many people don't realize. If your landlord fails to fix serious issues like broken heat in the winter or mold infestations, you may have the legal right to withhold rent, fix the problem yourself and deduct the cost, or even break the lease without penalty. But this varies by state, so make sure to check local tenant laws before taking action. Another legal right many tenants don't know they have is protection against retaliation. If you report a code violation, organize with other tenants, or file a formal complaint, your landlord is not legally allowed to retaliate. That means they can't raise your rent, threaten eviction, or cut off utilities just because you exercised your rights. If they do, you may be able to sue and recover damages. One commonly misunderstood area of tenant rights involves privacy. Most tenants assume landlords can enter whenever they want, but that's not true. Every state has rules around notice of entry. In most cases, a landlord must give you 24 to 48 hours written notice before entering your home, except in emergencies like a fire or a flood. They can't show up unannounced for inspections, repairs, or to show the property to potential buyers or renters. Unauthorized entry could qualify as harassment or even a breach of your lease agreement. Now, let's talk about security deposits. Many renters hand over a large deposit when moving in, but they don't realize how much protection they have around getting it back. Laws vary by state, but landlords usually must return your deposit within a set time frame, often 14 to 30 days after you move out. If they keep any portion, they must provide an itemized list explaining each deduction. If they don't, they may lose the right to keep any of it. In some states, they could even owe you double or triple the deposit in penalties. You also have the right to live free from discrimination under the Fair Housing Act. This federal law prohibits landlords from discriminating against you based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, or familial status. That means a landlord can't deny you housing, set different terms, or harass you because of your background or identity. Many states have added their own protections that include things like sexual orientation, gender identity, or source of income. If you suspect housing discrimination, you can file a complaint with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD. Next up, repairs. You may not know that landlords are legally obligated to make timely repairs to maintain the property in livable condition. That includes fixing broken toilets, leaking roofs, and faulty wiring. If your landlord drags their feet, many states allow what's called repair and deduct. That means you can pay for the repair yourself, submit the receipt, and subtract that amount from your rent. Again, rules vary, and you must follow the proper process, but this is a powerful tool if used correctly. Also worth noting is your right to organize. You can legally form or join a tenant union, host meetings in common areas, and advocate for better living conditions without fear of eviction or retaliation. Some cities, especially those with rent control laws, have even stronger protections for tenant organizing. If your landlord tries to stop you, they could be violating federal and state laws. Another surprising right: in many states, If your apartment is destroyed by a natural disaster or becomes uninhabitable through no fault of your own, you may be allowed to break your lease without penalty. You might also be entitled to temporary housing assistance or rent abatement, especially if local or state emergency laws kick in. Always check the fine print of your lease and local ordinances in the event of a disaster. Now, let's talk about lease terms. Many tenants think they're stuck with whatever is in their lease, but some terms may be unenforceable. For example, a clause that waives your right to sue the landlord, or that limits liability for negligence, is often not legally binding. Landlords cannot override your fundamental legal rights with fine print. If something in your lease looks suspicious, consult with a local housing attorney or tenant rights group. You also have a right to know who owns and manages your property. In many states, the landlord must disclose the name and address of the property owner or management company. This is crucial if you ever need to send a legal notice or file a complaint. If this information isn't provided, it could be a violation of landlord-tenant laws. And here's one more powerful right you might not know: the right to a jury trial in eviction cases. In many states, if your landlord files for eviction, you can request a jury trial instead of just appearing before a judge. This can slow down the process and give you time to gather evidence, legal support, and possibly work out a settlement. It also adds pressure on landlords to resolve disputes more fairly. Lastly, let's discuss renters' insurance. While it's not a legal requirement in most states, some landlords require it as part of your lease. What you should know is that renters' insurance protects you, not the landlord. It can cover stolen property, damages due to fire or water, and even temporary lodging if your unit becomes uninhabitable. If your lease requires it, make sure you understand the coverage and don't just choose the cheapest option without reading the policy. In conclusion, tenants in the U.S. have more legal rights than many realize. From privacy protections to anti-retaliation laws, from the right to withhold rent for serious repairs to protection against discrimination. Understanding your rights is key to maintaining a safe, secure, and fair living environment. Always read your lease carefully, stay informed about local and state tenant laws, and never hesitate to reach out to legal aid or tenant advocacy groups if you're unsure. Knowledge is power, and knowing your rights as a tenant can make all the difference. Thanks for watching.